Chapter 9, Shadows Encroach. Ava jolted awake, her breath ragged and her heart pounding. The faint light of dawn crept through the cracked blinds of her temporary shelter, casting long, thin shadows across the room. Her dreams had been vivid, filled with disjointed images. Wolves consumed by shadow, forests twisting into monstrous shapes, and a voice low and insidious whispering her name. She pressed her palms to her temples, trying to push the images away. The whispers clung to her, faint but persistent, like an itch she couldn't scratch. Her body ached, her senses still raw from the transformation she'd barely controlled the night before. The sound of movement outside snapped her out of her thoughts. Ava rose unsteadily, her muscles protesting as she crossed the room to peek through the blinds. Xander and Luca stood in the clearing, their postures tense. Luca's normally easy demeanor was gone, replaced with a grim focus that made Ava's stomach tighten. She slipped outside, the cool morning air biting at her skin. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice hoarse. Xander turned, his golden eyes scanning her with concern. "You should rest. You barely slept." Ava shook her head. "I'm fine. What's happening?" Luca glanced at Xander, then back at her. "We've lost contact with one of the scouting parties. They were patrolling near the corrupted grove." The name sent a chill through her. She'd seen it in her visions, a place where the darkness festered and spread like a disease. "Do you think they—" "It's likely," Xander said grimly. "The darkness doesn't leave survivors." Ava's fingers tightened around the strap of her bag, where the tome rested heavily. The glyphs had been silent since her encounter with Seth, but she could feel its energy, dormant but waiting. "What can we do?" Xander's jaw tightened. "We need to know what we're dealing with. Luca and I will track their last known location. You stay here." "No," Ava said, surprising even herself with the firmness in her voice. "If the darkness is spreading, I need to see it. I need to understand what's happening." Xander opened his mouth to argue, but Luca raised a hand. "She's right. If she's going to fight this, she needs to see what we're up against." Xander's gaze flickered between them before he sighed. "Fine, but you stay close, and if anything feels off, we leave. Understood?" Ava nodded. Understood. The forest grew darker the closer they got to the grove. The air was thick, heavy with a palpable sense of wrongness. Trees twisted unnaturally, their bark blackened and cracked. The ground beneath their feet felt unstable, as though the earth itself recoiled from their presence. Ava kept her eyes on Xander's broad back, her hands trembling despite her efforts to steady them. The whispers had grown louder, their words indistinct but insistent. She clutched the tome tightly, its faint glow a comfort and a warning. "We're close," Luca said, his voice low. He crouched, inspecting a patch of disturbed earth. "They passed through here recently, but something else did too." Ava crouched beside him, her stomach churning as she saw the deep claw marks gouged into the dirt. The edges were blackened, as if burned. What could do that? "Corrupted wolves," Xander said, his tone grim, twisted by the darkness. "They're faster, stronger, and they don't stop until everything in their path is destroyed." Luca's gaze darted to the surrounding trees. "We're not alone." The words barely left his mouth before a low growl echoed through the forest. Ava's breath caught as shadows moved between the trees, their shapes distorted and unnatural. Yellow eyes gleamed in the gloom, their gaze fixed on the group. Xander stepped forward, his stance protective. "Luca, flank left. Ava, stay behind me." The first wolf lunged, its body a blur of blackened fur and jagged teeth. Xander met it mid-leap, his fists colliding with its chest in a burst of force that sent it sprawling. Another wolf charged from the side, but Luca was there, his blade flashing as he slashed through its twisted form. Ava stumbled back, her heart pounding as the tome's glyphs flared to life. The whispers surged, their words clear for the first time. "Release the light." "What does that mean?" she gasped, clutching the book as its energy built within her. Another wolf barreled toward her, its maw wide and snarling. Ava raised the tome instinctively, and a burst of silver light erupted from its pages. The wolf recoiled, its body disintegrating into ash as the light consumed it. Xander and Luca froze, their gazes snapping to her. The remaining wolves hesitated, their movements jerky as if caught between instinct and fear. "Ava," Xander said, his voice urgent, "whatever you just did, do it again." The tome's glow intensified, the glyphs shifting rapidly across its surface. Ava focused, channeling the energy that pulsed through her. Another burst of light radiated outward, forcing the wolves back. They howled, their forms dissolving as the light engulfed them. When the last wolf fell, the forest was silent. Ava's knees buckled, and she sank to the ground, the tome slipping from her hands. Xander was at her side in an instant, his expression a mix of concern and awe. "Are you okay?" he asked. Ava nodded weakly. "I think so. What was that?" Luca crouched beside them, his gaze on the tome. "Whatever it is, it just saved our lives." Xander helped Ava to her feet, his grip steady. "We need to get back. The council needs to know what's happening here." Ava picked up the tome, its glow fading but its weight heavier than before. She looked back at the twisted forest, the remnants of the battle etched into the ground. The darkness was spreading, but for the first time she felt a flicker of hope. Whatever power she carried, it was hers to wield, and she would use it to fight.